Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.
G'day, I'm Fletch and welcome to today's show. You're about to see a few different things, but for mostly, how about an original HT Monaro from 1970? But wait, it gets better. What about the original owner as well? Stick around as I serve it to you in this week's Classic Restos on the road. We all know that there's something very special about an original car with its original owner. It's a kind of joined at the hip type of deal. The bloke and his family car. This is a little story about a guy named Bruce Shaw who took this car out of a dealership back in 1970, and it's never been back to a dealership for a trade-in ever since. But before we talk more about this awe-inspiring, jaw-dropping, see it as it is HT Monaro, a little bit about Bruce first. Nice to talk about the car, but Bruce is a little salt of the earth as well, belonging to his local rural fire service at Colo Vale in the picturesque Southern Highlands of New South Wales. We don't have to explain how good a job these people do when things turn a little hot in the kitchen. But as a volunteer, Bruce has been associated for 30 years and a full member for around 7 years, doing his bit assisting around the station. At a time of busy commitments and working in with weather conditions, it took a bit to finally pin Bruce down. But like a dog with a bone, I never give up. And this is the interview I have been waiting for. Bruce, welcome to today's show.
Yeah, thank you, Fletch. Thank you.
What an amazing story this is. I'm standing next to the guy that in 1970 chose to buy one of the gun cars of the time. Just explain that period. What was it like back then for a young bloke to go in and buy a brand new Monaro?
A lot of hard work, a lot of and raise the money. It was really hard, but anyway, it was worth it. I enjoyed it. I used to use it for work. Everything was a family car. It was, yeah.
Were you the envy of a lot of people back then because you've bought this car?
Yeah, so I was going to actually buy a Valiant Pacer. But the family was Holden mans, all Holden, so
yeah,
of course,
yeah,
got the Holden.
Well, any of the big three, you couldn't have gone wrong. But this is an incredible story to think that you've kept it for so long. And why I think that's incredible is because we all know we've all had cars for many decades, and the temptation has always been there. The next model comes out, and you think, oh, is it time to get rid of it? I've had this car for 10 years. Should I update? Should I get something with air conditioning? Should I get something with power windows? Now, you've been through all those decades and all those different models. You've seen them all come out, but something made you keep this car.
Was actually the Holden dealer. I got married and then we got kids, and my wife didn't like putting the kids in the back of the car, so I went up to the local dealer and I was going to buy an SLR 5000. So he came along and he goes, oh yeah, and he went through the deal, and then he goes, well, what do you think? I went, nah. I said, what's my trading price? He said, $800. So I just said, sorry, mate, he's lost the sale. And they said, oh, we're going to look at it again. Nah. So actually it was the Holden dealer which...
Well, I guess made you keep the car. Yeah. It's amazing. Now, all right, let's look at the car in its originality first. Now, it's not a show pony, yet it is. Now, what I mean by not a show pony is, okay, it hasn't been restored to a concourse car, but we're not after that. That's not what this is about. This is an original car. Now, it's had some things done to it around 1980. Do you just want to explain that to us?
Yes, the paint started to go off on go crazy on the car, the lacquer. So I had it resprayed. Not all of it, but just the top parts. And the kids had poked holes in the seats. And they put, anyway, I got velour put in it because velour was...
Did you control yourself that day, Bruce? Or?
Oh, kids are kids, you know, they're only 5 and 6.
When we also look at the paint of the car too, we're looking at time of filming, a 52-year-old car here. So just for a moment, think about that. 52 years of washing, polishing, outside weather for many, many years, the abrasion over the paint. So we can't knock the paint now for going thin in some areas. And one of those places, one of the black stripes down over the boot lid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little bit thin now, but I sort of polish around it now.
Look, you gotta leave it be. Now tell us about the engine. It's a 253. It's a 4-speed.
Yes.
We've got the beautiful sports dash, the original dash there, of course, for this HT. Tell us the story of the 253.
253 was not the original engine. The engine got cooked by a certain party, not me. So I had to replace it. So it's just got the...
Yeah,
it was reconditioned now.
That was easy done in the day. We didn't have coolant lights back in those times, and it's only really, you know, later years we've had those luxuries. The old pinhole in the radiator hose out on the freeway, keep on driving, and sometimes not realising until it's too late. It wasn't hard to cook a car back in the old days when you think about it.
No.
So okay, the engine was rebuilt, 253, but it was 253 from the start. That's the original engine.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all original. Still got the original oil filler from the front on the top. Yep. Top of the engine.
And when we look at, there were 7 engines available in the time for HT as well. When you consider a 1616 right through to the 350. There are in fact 15 models too when you consider the Belmont right through to the 350 Monaro as well. It was an interesting year for 1970.
The other thing with this one too is it hasn't got the stripes down the side. So no one knows why there's no stripes down the side.
I love hearing these stories because back in these times when the cars were on the assembly lines, they did peculiar things. Like you say, they went so far they'd stop or they'd branch off and they'd make a different car. You know, it's the build sheet had come along and specified to the order of what the person wanted.
You could order colour, anything you wanted in those days.
Yeah.
Not like today.
Yeah. Unreal.
You can order whatever you like as long as it's white.
Yeah. Well, there are just over 182,000 HTs made. And we think now we'll try and comprehend how much 182,000 vehicles are. And well, I guess it's always the quest as to where they are.
I know where there's a few.
Well, I know where there's one right here. What about this? Important stuff. Embellishments on our cars that once meant something. Badges, like this one here. 253 cubic inches, 4.2 litres of V8 engine. A symbol, something that was looked upon once upon a time and represented the life's blood of the car's automotive heartbeat. This is legacy stuff. Badges, the little things we just so take for granted today.
I've been a motoring enthusiast all my life. My Coupe 4 is rare and very special. A real performance car with all-wheel drive grip. I'm not a car club bloke and I don't work on it myself, but I do have a great mechanic. One day, I might even get that HQ. When it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannons.
Shannons shares your passion. Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. Now, Bruce, I've made another executive decision. Obviously, this guy's a Holden legend, so please take a Holden Legends cap from General Motors Australia and also this Holden Legends pack. Very special, and that's yours, Bruce, and that's a little reward.
Oh, thanks, GM. That's unbelievable.
Well, there's no doubt about it, Bruce, you are a Holden legend, and it goes without saying, I couldn't give it to a better person than you here today for having this Monaro for so long. These Holden packs are very special, and they are available at gmsvstore.com.au if you want to pop along there and have a look at the range and purchase some Holden memorabilia. Good on you, Bruce, well done.
Thank you. Thanks, Fletch. This car means everything to me. I've had it since new. I bought it the 28th of April 1970, and I paid a whole $2,800 for it, which is ridiculous when you think about it now, but that was more than the year's wages in those days. It's been a family car. It's one of those things that I just never sell. Money can't replace it. My son, he knows how much it means to me, and he got this book. He did this book for me, and it's got his car, his Monaro, and my Monaro. You know, it means this book and the car means a lot to me. We used to, and my mum and my cousin, we used to race a Tirana and an FJ. The old FJ be worth a fortune now. We used to tow it with that car. It's really hard to describe how good it was, but Mum used to race in the ladies' races. Some lady, but used to do all the damage. We used to have to fix it, but it was really, really good. The reason I bought the GTS was that I wanted a V8 for a start, and I wanted a Holden, and this one came up. It was hard to. I actually ordered the 350 4-speed Sebring Orange with the cream seats or the white seats, and I waited 6 months. Didn't come anyway. This one came up, so I bought this, and I still like the Sebring Orange, but this one I still love it. Yeah, this car, it was a workhorse. It carted my tools around, and it carried a wheelbarrow in the boot, sand, cement. We used to buy bags of sand, cement, and put that in. It towed the race car. It's towed box trailers. Now it tows with the show trailer around. It's not bashful. It keeps going. I couldn't afford to build another car, so I decided to build a box trailer. So anyway, I found all bits and pieces, and it's the trailer's got a 1927 Chev front end under it. Then I got an old wagon out of a paddock and put it all together, and it's got kerosene lamps for lights, it's got water bags for mud flaps, hand-cut timber on the floor. With a box trailer, you can't have timber wheels on a trailer, so I had to get the wheels actually made. Neil's Wheels made them for me, and then I glued the spokes on so they looked like they're timber, and got away with it. This car, to me, when you drive it, it's like, it's not like the new cars where it's all soft and flaky. It's all, everything you feel, every bump, hollow. It's hard to steer to some people. Just pump the tyres up a bit more and it's fine. It's on the road, it's just different. It's got rattles and squeaks and everything else in, but a car which is 52 years old, it's like me, it's got a few aches and pains.
Bruce, complete with the original ARS number plates.
Yeah.
I bet you got heaps over that over the years, did you?
Heaps over it.
Yeah, I reckon that's pretty cool.
Well, it is right into the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, when you get the ARS, you've certainly have got the ARS, haven't you?
Yeah, my son's got the other number plate, ARS 641.
Oh, there you go. That's getting very creative. Now, back to the under the bonnet, we look at that 253. You can tell that it's been reconditioned. That's beautiful. Doesn't matter. You've got the new hose clamps going on there. You've still got the original air cleaner. The wiring, the engine bay untouched from the time. That's a little gold mine to me, just there under the bonnet, Bruce.
Yeah, so I'm pretty fortunate that nothing's been really damaged there. And
the interior, the red velour, has been in there since 1980. So even at time of filming, we're still looking at that interior now at 42 years, which is holding up really well.
Yeah, it is. It is, and no, my sons love it. They won't let me change it back. I was going to change it back. They said, no, look, we want it left like that, because it's a part of your car.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, there was a reason why I pulled you over, and you should have seen him too. He was taking side streets, and I felt sorry for him. I'm thinking, oh God, he's probably thinking, who's this bloke? But I'm glad that you did pull over, and we made that connection, that association. I just want to thank you so much for your time out, and also for the Coal Vale Fire Shed, for the guys here, to allow your car to come here and for us to film this segment. That means a lot as well, Bruce.
Yeah, no, they're a good bunch of guys. Everyone, if you don't get on with them, you can't get on with anybody.
Yeah, my word. I could say a lot more about that. Bruce, thanks very much.
Thanks, Fletch.
You're welcome.
And thanks for the cap.
You're welcome.
and the gift. Thank you.
Every weekend around Australia, motoring enthusiasts get together to share their passion for cars and bikes. It's a passion that brings us together. All sorts of people, all sorts of cars and bikes. From the classics of today to the classics of tomorrow. At Shannons, we understand enthusiasts. So when it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannons. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride.
Got a classic? It just has to be insured with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And the Shannons Club awaits you with their own wonderful in-house productions, such as Shannons Club TV, Legends of Motorsport, Driven, End of an Era. You can catch classic Restos there as well, along with a host of other really cool stuff as Australia's largest automotive online hub. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. Welcome back. And how fantastic was Bruce's HT Monaro? A one-owner car since new, I'm sure you'll agree, that is pretty special. Now it's time for a cooling segment on today's show, thanks to Davies Craig Proprietary Limited. See those beautiful cedar doors behind me here? Well, they have absolutely nothing to do with this segment. But after 15 reliable years of an electric fan on my Stroker 340, it's time for its replacement. And without question, it just has to be another Davies Craig.
The reason I'm featuring a segment such as this is because I'm very pro-Australian companies. They are becoming rarer, and the ones that are surviving need an accolade and deserve ongoing support. Here with Davies Craig Proprietary Limited, we are looking at a 50-year-old dinky-die, Australian-owned and operated company that commenced as a manufacturer in the automotive and air conditioning condenser and cooling fan industries. It all started when two innovative aircraft pilots, Darryl Davies and Bill Craig, decided to experiment by removing the mechanical blade fan from an engine to generate more power. If I recall correctly, the vehicle of experiment back in the day was a trusty E.H. Holden. Now known as a world leader in auto cooling, Davies Craig offers a range of electric water pumps, electric booster pumps, along with an extensive range of engine and air conditioning cooling thermatic electric fans for the global automotive aftermarket industry. The Davies Craig range of thermatic fans are recognised by industry professionals as the benchmark when it comes to quality and efficiency when installed into a wide variety of motor vehicles. Cheaper imported electric fans don't last anywhere near as long, and no matter the application, there's a Davies Craig fan to suit. The low-profile, high-performance thermatic fans provide a constant, powerful airflow which increases heat transfer, air conditioning performance. They are efficient and will lower your fuel consumption due to less drag on your engine. When you approach Davies Craig, your inquiries will be responded to promptly with a suitable cooling solution.
Yeah, car's cooling system. Simple in theory, but if you get it wrong, it'll throw you into a world of pain. There's nothing more stressful, we all know what it's like, to sit in traffic on a warm day and watch the temperature gauge creep up. It's pretty stressful stuff. And there's no need for it to happen. You know, I speak to a lot of guys and, you know, some say, oh, you know, the car runs a bit hot in traffic. And it doesn't need to. You get into a late model car and they don't. Do you notice how the temperature gauge pretty well stays in the one spot all the time? And that's just because of, you know, refined castings and improved cooling systems. But the biggest thing is airflow and getting the air through your radiator. Now, you only really have to be doing a speed of 40 kilometres an hour. You only need that airflow through the radiator to keep the engine at an operating temperature. Some of my older classic cars here, I run around 80 degrees C. Now, you might think, well, that's a bit too cool. Well, when you're looking at cylinder heads that have never been removed off an original engine since the day it was built, I'd rather run them on the cool side than run them too warm. A new engine, of course, well, they can run a bit hotter. When I look at these electric fans from Davies Craig, the quality is unsurpassed. And look, I don't mind saying, there's other imported fans. The blades are narrower, the material is thinner, they flex more. They're not even in the running. And there's testament, I've had almost 20 years out of one Davies Craig fan, and the one on the Dart replica here at 15 years. So that's no slouch when it comes to an electric fan. The cooling system on cars, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting topic. You can have quite a few things that restrict that cooling ability. Gunk around the bores in the engine block on an older engine can be a little bit of an issue. That's a little bit harder to clean out. Sometimes if you remove Welsh plugs, you can see a bit of build-up in there. You only need a 10% blockage in your radiator to send the temperature gauge up a little bit when you're in traffic. That's all it takes. So if you're running a radiator that's a few years old and an older engine block, you've got casting material that breaks away in time, little things like, you know, changing gaskets and pieces of silicon that are floating around your system, everything attributes to potentially clogging the core of a radiator, and it doesn't take much to send that gauge up. My early days of education, understanding of the drag of a fixed fan on an engine, was back in the XD, XE era. My XD, only a few years old at the time, had a fixed 7-blade fan. And to prove that, here it is. This is the fan. Yes, my beloved XD. This is the only part, it's the only thing I have from my XD Falcon from when I bought that back in 1982. And this was the fan that I removed around 83. And at that time I removed this 7-blade fixed fan and replaced it with a viscous clutch fan off an XE. And that was incredible, to go from that 7-blade fixed fan to a free spinning fan. It was noticeable with the fuel economy. The car was quieter. The engine revs smoother. It was just a different world. And you can see how cars have evolved, although the American products still love their clutch fans. And look, they work well. But one extra step above that is to go with these electric fans where there is zero drag on your engine. The drag from a fan is incredible. Even with a clutch fan, when they lock and they roar to draw the air through the radiator, you'll feel a power drop momentarily until it free spins again. Whatever you lose at the front is times by 3 by the time it hits the road. So 5 horsepower loss up front, 15 by the time it goes through the back wheels and hits the road. So there's there's a lot to do with fans, and this is where the Davies Craig, the electric fan, really excels. Some guys over time, many years ago, you speak to some of the older guys and they used to take the thermostats out of the car. That's pretty well one of the worst things you can do, because the thermostat acts as a restrictor as well. It actually slows the water down going through your engine. If it moves through too fast, it doesn't stay in the radiator core long enough to cool. So there's a whole point of making sure that you always retain your thermostat in the housing. It's really essential to retain optimum running temperature for your vehicle. If you're worried about it running too hot, just put a cooler thermostat in. If your vehicle does run on the hot side, have a look at your radiator, see how good it is, and check your fan. A shroud is also a very, very important part of a cooling system on your car. You wonder why some of our early Australian cars overheated in the 60s, pulling the plywood caravan. Had this 4-blade pressed tin metal fan spinning around in the middle of nowhere, drawing what air it did in from every direction, all bar through the radiator. So the shroud is very important to bring that air through. Big differences when you put a shroud around the fan blades. But failing that, consider the Davies Craig electric fan. It'll be a good decision that you make. Well, I hope you really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos, the magnificent HT Monaro belonging to Bruce Shaw, and of course the cooling fan segment thanks to Davies Craig Proprietary Limited. I hope you liked it. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching.
You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ClassicRestosTV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.